Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage.
Shine like a ray from the sun. There's something people look for but never can find.
And we are back with the Legend Makers podcast, and I am with none other than Keldric Holmes. Keldric is a TikTok sensation. That's where I found him. He's crushing it over there. I looked at your top video, I think has like 11 million views, which is commendable. That's pretty awesome. You are a second grade English and language arts teacher out of Mississippi, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You've been teaching about 2 years. Is that what I heard?
Yes, sir. This is my second year teaching second grade.
Second year. Excellent. So why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll get right into it.
All right. Well, first I want to start by saying thank you for having me here. Like you said, my name is Keldric Holmes. I am from Mississippi. I am 24 years old. I graduated from the University of Southern Mississippi in 2023, and I just recently received my bachelor's, not my bachelor's, I'm sorry, my master's in elementary education from William Carey University this past fall. I'm sorry. So yes,
okay.
that's just a little bit about me.
Excellent. Excellent. So you've been teaching 2 years. All right.
Yes.
So that's great. And this is one of the other reasons I wanted to have you on here, because I've talked to a lot of teachers that have been doing it for 20 years, 30 years, right? And they've got a lot of wisdom and they got some great stuff. They've seen it all. But I wanted a fresh outlook on what it's like to get started. Now, what is it like those first 2 years? You know, what did you come into this feeling? Like, so we're going to get to your why. And I know there's a great video for those of you. It's _ Dre Holmes, and we'll link it in the show notes so everybody can go and click in and follow you on TikTok. But you had this great post and somebody asked you to remember your why. And I remember I think you maybe were a little frustrated that day, possibly. I don't want to put words in your mouth, and they were like, well, that's why it's always important to remember your why. And man, that is a key component to what I want to understand here is like, why did you start teaching? So why don't we just start there? So you're coming out of high school, you're in high school, you go to college. What was teaching always your goal and why?
Absolutely not. I think growing up, I always had in the back of my head that I never want to teach ever, ever, ever. When I was in high school, I was in show choir. So the only thing that I wanted to do back then was dance and perform. So when I got to the University of Southern Mississippi, I studied dance, performance, and choreography. That was my major. Up until about my junior year, my friend convinced me that we should change our major to dance education. And I was like, okay, well, why? You know, I came into college thinking that I never ever want to be a teacher. I never want to teach dance. I just want to dance or perform in general. And it was never my idea to teach in a classroom setting either. So she presented that idea to me my junior year. We were going into the spring semester. And I was like, okay. I mean, that makes sense because, you know, if dance doesn't work out, I'll have something to fall back on because, you know, they always need teachers in the classroom. So I was like, okay, you might be right. So we did that. I student taught. And when I was student teaching my final semester of college, I said, this is something that I definitely do not want to do. And that's when I had the thought of, I realized you should never, ever say never because, you know, I think God will humble you, and he definitely humbled me. When I graduated that spring, I had such a hard time finding a job. And plus my degree was in dance, so there wasn't any openings from around this area.
Right.
Okay, this is interesting. And, you know, with it being dance, it kind of limited me into what I could do. So my friend told me about this master's program at William Carey University, and they were giving out masters. Well, they were paying for students to go to school.
Okay.
The program was only a year, and I was like, okay, well, this will be good because it's only a year, and then plus I'll have something extra behind my dance degree. So I did that. I started working at the school that I'm at now, and it was terrible. Not the school itself, but the me being a first time teacher as well as in grad school, a graduate student, it was terrible.
Terrible in what way? Just too much
It was
on your.
just too much. And like I want to mention that my dance degree, it was completely different like I said, in a different setting. So the thing I had to start all the way over, basically, because the things that I was taught in dance was different from a a general education standpoint. So they had to teach me all these things, and it was just brand new for me. And I had never been in a classroom in this way. And I was taking about, oh my goodness, I was taking about 7 or 8 courses at the time, and I just thought this is not what I'm supposed to
And
do.
teaching at the same time.
And teaching at the same time.
So you were going on all cylinders all the time.
Yes.
And
I
you're
mean,
how old at this point? How
I
old were you at
was
this point?
23.
23. Oh, so just okay. Yeah, yeah, sure. You're
I'm
still
sorry,
very
I was
young. Yeah.
22. I was
You're
22 at the
22. I'm
time.
trying to do the math.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, good.
I was 22 at
22.
the time,
All
and it
right.
was just I was so depressed. But
Mm-hmm.
until my second year after I received the degree, that's when things kind of got easier for me inside the classroom because now I know what to expect. I know the ins and outs of the classroom. You know, people talked about classroom management and having your procedures and routines and rules and expectations. And that's when I realized that those things are very, very, very important. So yeah, now that I've entered my second year, like I said, I think I figured out the ins and outs and what to do and what not to do. So this year has been very smooth sailing. Of course, nothing is perfect, but it's much better than that first year. I can tell you
That
that.
first year. So the first year was a little rough getting your feet under you. You were also going to school full. So you're working and going to school full time.
Yes,
That's a lot. It's a lot. That's nonstop. And you teachers don't leave the work at at work. So
correct.
you're carrying that home with you as well as going to school. But okay, so school wraps up. You get your degree, and it sounds as if your degree you found to be very useful in the sense that it prepared you for, at least in part, can't cover everything, right? Because life just has a way of throwing, life at you. But
Right.
for the most part, it covered you, and you got yourself in terms of classroom management and things like this. You kind of came in with some semblance of a plan, and always second grade.
Only second grade.
So you got the littles.
Yes.
So they're awesome, right? Like they're just
they're up
little.
there.
Do you
I
love
love.
them? Do you
Yes,
love them
I
to
love
death?
them. I love them
Do
to
they
death.
must, they must, they must love Mr. Holmes to death, right?
Oh, I'm the cool teacher now.
I bet you are. I can only imagine. Like you're the cool teacher. So you kind of fell into this.
hmm
That's interesting because you're the first one. Mostly it's like, oh, my parents were teachers. I come out of a teaching background. I always knew I had a teacher that influenced me at a very young age. And I always, from that day forward, I knew I was going to be a teacher. So for you, it was okay, I take dance, I come out of school. There's really no job for me in my profession locally, at least locally. I hear about this program. I'm like, what the hey? I'll do that. And boom, I get into the classroom. Okay,
Right.
first year rough. So you're probably thinking to yourself, what the hell have I done? Right?
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Oh, absolutely. I prayed every day for God to get me out of the classroom.
Seriously. Seriously.
Seriously. I was on my way to work. I said, Lord, if you can just get me out of this, I will. I don't care what it is. I prayed and prayed and prayed.
Wow. What was it besides work? Was there something else? I'm curious. This is really interesting to me because besides work and the workload, for sure, that's huge, right? Burden. But was it just you were just not prepared? Is that what it was? And was the class hard to manage, or what was it? What did you
um,
dread going into? Like you walking into those doors, what was your dread about?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it was only going into work. I think it was mainly being in school myself. You know, you have to go to
Right.
work and
Okay. Yep.
teach all these different kids and, manage behavior. And then after I put myself through all of that from 7 to 3, I have to go home, get on Zoom and do my own homework and go to bed and wake up and do it all over again. So for me, it was just, a repeated cycle of doing
That
something that I never had planned on doing in the first place.
right. Right.
So
All right.
yeah, that's what it was for me.
Got it. So now year two. So you're in year two right now.
Yes.
So this is the 25, 24, 25 school year is your year two.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how that's going. What do you love about it? What's challenging? Let's start with what you love about it because it sounds like now you're in kind of a good place. So
Yeah.
so you lifted that burden off you of school and now you're teaching.
Right. So by this point when I began the first year, my second year, I was only taking one course. So that, the burden that was on my shoulders was kind of lifted because I'm not,
Mhm.
drained and buried in schoolwork. So
Right.
now, this time I'm going into it. I know everything. Not everything. I still have a lot to learn as a second year teacher. I
Sure.
just want to throw that out there. But I'm better equipped now that I've spent the last, 8 to 9 months in front of all of these children. I know what to do, as far as accommodations and what kids may
Hmm.
need. So now I'm prepared. This year has been much, much, much smoother. And the thing that I've realized that it's important to really get to know those students. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to, being an educator, because it's tricky. I said this in one
Hmm.
of my videos. We don't make a lot of money, especially down here in Mississippi. So in
Hmm.
order to teach, you have to, I guess, make it fun, but you also have to go back to, like I said, know your why. So going into this year, I also had a more positive mindset. I was ready for whatever came my way. So I think that's been helping me up until this point.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
just all about how you think about it.
Yeah, it is how you think about it, isn't it? It's how you frame it. And so now your why, has it changed? I mean, now do you, so this is because I watched you and I mean, I really do think that, again, we were talking a little bit before the camera started rolling, so to speak, and before we pressed record. And we were talking about like what teachers are. And, I told you how I feel about them. It's not a secret that I have greatest admiration for educators. I think the
Mhm.
job is a selfless job. It's an incredible job. I heard a few things. I've been doing this now for you're probably, I've interviewed probably 30 or so teachers on this podcast. And so I get to deep dive into some things. And the one thing that I've heard, one theme is, teaching is the profession that trains all other professions.
Mhm.
So there's a really cool one there. So you're doing that. Um, has your why kind of changed? Do you now feel a greater purpose about what you do versus a job?
Yes. Going into it, I don't necessarily think that I had a why. Because,
Right, right.
like I said, coming out of college, my the only thing that was in my mind was just dance, 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 dance. So,
Mm-hmm.
teaching was always my plan B. Um, so now I think my why is, well, I'll take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
Being an educator, especially, when I was growing up, I didn't have many people that looked like me. As
Mm-hmm.
far as being African American and teaching in the school setting. Being at the school that I'm at now, I've learned that I have become such a role model to these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And children, they come from all different kinds of background. I mean, you never know what's going on at home, but sometimes I have students that
Right.
come up to me every single morning and they just give me the biggest hug. I have one student, he comes to me and says, Mr. Holmes, you're the best. I mean, he says it every single day. Um,
Love it.
so I'm just glad that I've been blessed enough to be in a position to where I am able to influence these kids, because kids, they go through a lot outside of the four
Mm-hmm.
walls of school.
Yes, they do.
So I think maybe my purpose as to why I've been, put in this position is to help the youth. And
Mm-hmm.
I love kids. I've always, been around kids. I have cousins, I have a little brother. But I think
Hmm.
my why is just simply to serve and be a positive influence and have a positive impact on the kids. They need to see people like me. So I'm just,
They
like I
sure
said,
do.
blessed that I've been able to be put in the position to where I can do this for the children.
It's amazing. And that's awesome. Man, that really is awesome because you're right. Again, something else that I've heard more than once talking to teachers on this podcast is, and you just said it, you don't know what a lot of these kids deal with outside those walls of your school, of your classroom. And on the worst of your days, when you walk in there and you're not in the mood or you're tired or you're cranky or you're not feeling well or there's something else going on in your personal life, the one teacher said, you got to remember that you are oftentimes the light in that child's life. And that's the little boy that comes in and gives you a hug. Those are the little girls that come in and give you the high five. They look
Mhm.
forward to seeing you, right? And that's big, deep responsibility. It's a huge purpose in your life. I think it's amazing. And I think, well, something that you haven't experienced yet, but that you're going to in 15, 17 years if you stick through this that long, if you're still a teacher in 20 years, you're going to be sitting at that little boy that hugs you, you're going to be crying at his graduation.
Hmm.
And that's when you're going to look up and go, yeah, man, that's what was for. That's
Right.
what the past 20 years. And that's a huge, man, I got to tell you, that's awesome. Gave me this, got a little thing there, man. So very, very cool. So you fell into this. Now you're loving it. Are you enjoying yourself? Are you happy that you ended up here, that you were put here, should I say?
Oh yeah. Like I said earlier, it's just all about it's a mindset, a
Uh-huh.
mentality. I believe that it's all about what you make it. If you go into a job thinking that you're gonna hate it and you're gonna dread it every single day, that's exactly what you're going to do. But if you go into the job thinking, okay, today's gonna be a great day and I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
be able to, touch all of these children and help them to learn something that maybe they didn't know the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like a light switch.
Good.
So I'm enjoying it now. Now that I've gotten past all the bad things, or
Good.
yeah.
Excellent. Do you think you'll be doing this? I know you can't know crystal ball, but do you think like, yeah, this is what I do. This is what my calling is. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And maybe not always, but maybe in one way, shape, or form. I think about a teacher that I just had lunch with yesterday, and he uses our program out here in New Jersey. He's a magician also. Like he does full on magic and he integrates it into his STEM programs.
Mm,
Like he uses card tricks to reinforce concepts. So like when we were thinking about flight, throttle, yaw, pitch, roll for drones, he would do like this card trick where I pick the cards, and I'm a knucklehead. I picked like 13. I was like, oh, there's no 13 card, but I was under pressure. So in my defense, but he uses his craft and he brings it into the teaching setting. And as I think about you with dance, like perhaps you'll be able to, because I think education is going to start changing. I
oh,
think that's going to become much more dynamic and experiential. And because we can do so much with technology, that a lot of that reading, writing, arithmetic kind of model, while still important, and I think reading in particular is hugely important. I'm an avid reader. I can't stand the fact that kids don't read. It breaks my heart. But you might be able to bring some of that into your teaching, like
mm,
get them up, get them moving, key concepts through motion. And,
yeah.
do you ever think of that?
Oh yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because when I was in undergrad, I was able to create dance infused lessons. So
Mhm.
this means incorporating dance into the I would say regular subjects. I know one time when I was student teaching, um, the class that I was in, they were talking about Harriet Tubman. So my
Mhm.
job was to go in and create movement based off whatever they were learning. So I was able to create an obstacle course in the classroom, and you
Mhm.
would be amazed at how they're able to connect the two and even learn more about
Yeah.
whatever it is that they're talking about. So it's been cool to see that I've incorporated dance within my classes now, but not as often. But I think I should start doing that more often. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've it's cool. It's a cool thing to see, and kids love to dance.
Oh, they
TikTok.
love to
Oh
get
my
up,
goodness,
move, and
yeah.
dance, and especially the little second grade. I can only imagine how awesome that looks to watch them all moving around and dancing and stuff. It's got to be great. I got to tell you, there's this. I'm a huge believer in purpose. I'm a big fan of everybody's. That's why I say inside every child lives a legend. There's something in every single one of us that's unique. I listened to this one podcast. This guy Sean Puri was talking about that. It's kind of that unique potential, that blend of something that you have. He called it a bear on a unicycle. And he said, we all have it. It's like, well, if you look at a bear, it's like, it's a bear, it's cool. You look at a unicycle, you're like, yeah, it's a bike, whatever it is. But you watch a bear riding a unicycle, you're like, whoa, that's pretty neat. Like, I've never
Yeah.
seen that before. It's that unique combination that
Hmm.
that two seemingly not really unique things combined become something extremely special. And I think there's that
Right.
intersection that you have, and it might be dancing and inspiring children through motion.
Yeah.
And I think that may be something that you explore deeper as you become get into teaching more. I think that's cool. I like it. Sounds good to me.
Thank you. Thank
Sold me. I'm bought. Let's go. We'll start a new business. Dance motion, right? We'll do something cool.
Oh, yes, they love it.
Tell me about, you know, so that's all great. Sounds like things are going really well. Challenges. Like, okay, so go back 2 years, somebody's starting out. So we have a teacher shortage, right? And with the way things are going right now, I don't think a whole lot of people are looking to dive into the profession, but we need them.
Right.
And so what do you say to those that are thinking about it? Like, or just about to start? What advice do you have 2 years in? So we're not 30 years in, right? What
I'm
are
still
your, and
learning.
I think that's all right. You're still learning too, but what would you tell yourself if you could go back 2 years from now and go back and say, hey, Keldric, this is it, man. You need to do the following things. Get ready.
hmm I would say I would give myself a little bit more grace. Going into it, like I told you, it was just very rough. And since it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do, I think that made it 10 times worse, as well as, me being in school as well. And I used to
Mm-hmm.
always beat myself up and say, why? I don't understand why I'm here. This is not what I want to do. I understand that I need money, but I just don't understand why I was put in this position. And this was an everyday thing. So I would say to anybody that's starting out or anybody that's thinking about going into it, I would say definitely first do your research because I feel like sometimes they can, I wouldn't say trick you, but they can sell you a dream.
Uh-huh.
And with teaching, it comes much more than just, standing in front of a classroom and teaching students. There's
Right.
several other things that go into it, but give yourself grace. I think every new teacher has their challenges. Even me, 2 years in, I'm still, obviously learning and I'm still experiencing challenges, but you just have to be patient and, talk to yourself if you need to, and encourage yourself, motivate yourself, whatever it takes for you to be the best you so the kids can be the best version of themselves. So
Mm.
my main message will be give yourself some grace.
Just right. Give yourself some breathing room. Take those deep breaths. Self-help, self-love, right? Self-love
Right.
first. Give yourself some grace, right? It's because everybody says that, you beat yourself up. You're trying to be perfect. You got to come in. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, but that's how you learn.
Right.
And if you give yourself the room to learn, then you'll be just fine, right? And
Absolutely.
follow. Do you have like mentor teachers? Because I know that I've heard other people say find somebody that you at your school. They said two things: look for the ones you like and follow, and go sit in on the classrooms and find out what they do, and also stay out of the lunchroom and don't listen to don't let the 30-year-old teachers in there, 30 year, not that they're 30 years old, but 30 years in tenured, um, you know, because they're burnt and they might have like, negative kind of vibes going there. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I do. I have She's technically not my mentor teacher, but I look to her as a mentor. Her name is Miss Barnett, and I when I
Uh-huh.
first came in my first year, she immediately took me under her wing. Even though I think this was only her maybe third or fourth year teaching. I mean, she
Okay.
told me everything that I needed to know in order to be successful. She was sending me videos, helping me with
Mhm.
my lesson plans and do whatever I need to do to make sure that I was prepared. So a mentor teacher is definitely needed. So I would also say that to anybody who's just starting out. Make sure you find someone that has your best heart and interest, that's
Mhm.
willing to look out for you and, give you the insight on everything you need to know to be successful. So yes.
Love it. So find your mentor, find somebody that can help you guide along, walk the road that they've already walked, right?
Yeah.
So, follow in their footsteps. Don't, you can maybe help you avoid some pitfalls, and
Right.
they're going to help you out, point you in the right direction, give you some ideas. And then stay out of that negative zone as well, too, right?
Yes. It's there. I promise it's there.
Is
It's
it?
definitely there. Oh yes, it is.
Yeah, I think they are just a little hard on the edges.
Yeah, I could say a lot, but I'm going to avoid that
Okay,
conversation.
I'm gonna let you go. Okay, good, good, good. We're not gonna go. We won't go there. We won't go there. Hey, so everything that you hear today is. I mean, I know you deal with little, young children.
hmm
AI. Yeah, is everybody talking about it? Are you hearing about it at your level? Like, are you using it as an educator at all in lesson planning or anything? Or are you just kind of like, no, that's not. We're not there yet. Like,
No, not
no,
there.
you're not even there yet.
We're not there. I don't think we even talk about it. So that's not
Okay.
something that I've been, using myself. But I have been seeing it, but I haven't experienced it.
Uh-huh. You
Or it's
haven't.
not in my school.
Cool. Okay. Okay, good. Now, where do you see things going? Like, so, your new education, we know there's a lot going on right now.
Hmm.
But I'm an optimist. I like to think about things through rose colored glasses. I like to think that all things happen for a reason and that there's a silver lining in everything we're going to learn. So, is there something in your world that you look at and go, I'm excited about this, or this gives me hope, or I'm optimistic? Where Talk to me about that. Is there something there?
As for myself or like in general within
And
the
where
classroom?
with you and with education, like, do you see things you go, look, this gives me hope? Yes, it's easy to fall into negativity, right? It's
Mhm.
really easy. Turn on the news, watch this, look at TikTok, that. I mean, that's why your channel's great.
Mhm.
Watch Keldric's page. Don't go to the other rough pages and stay away from all that politics stuff. He's
Oh yeah,
uplifting and positive. But so it's easy to fall into that negative trap, right? And
right,
so I always think about, like, well, what can we focus on? What can we find positive to look at and guide us, right? What's our hope? What is that
right.
for you?
For me, I guess kind of what I was saying earlier. I am excited to see how I can, be more of a positive impact because this is my second year and
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just now realizing the role that I was meant to play inside the school. So I'm positive, I'm excited to see how I can make a more positive impact on the youth. But in general, I'm also excited to see, since we have like a new wave of teachers and a new wave of students coming in, I feel like education is slowly turning. People are more expressive and, they're on TikToks. They're, talking about all these different things. I'm interested to see what direction education takes next. Because, social media has such um, it plays such a huge role in how we teach and how the students learn. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to see, how that all plays out in the future.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your TikTok channel. So you've got some heat going on. You've got a lot of people now watching you. Is that how
Yes.
long has that been going on? Like, when did you start TikToking, and when did you start growing an audience? Because it looks like you got a pretty good one, creeping
I
up.
remember my freshman year of college which was what, 2020.
Hmm.
That's when TikTok first became, it was getting more popular. And then during
Yeah.
COVID, nobody had anything else to do. So everybody was just on TikTok. So I had started out making, little funny church skits and church
Uh-huh.
videos. And that's
Okay.
really when I've seen my, following started to grow. But when I became, and I would post funny things in between time, but for me, it was never really, my focus was never really, posting.
Right.
Until I got on TikTok myself, I started using it more when I became an educator, because TikTok has a lot of information that
Mm-hmm.
education can grasp to. So, I would say maybe one day last year I made a funny video and it got maybe 2 or 3 thousand likes. Um,
Huh.
but I remember it was President's Day, which was only a couple of weeks ago. And I said, I'm gonna get on here, I'm just gonna ramble. I'm just gonna ramble on. I'm like, this is a message that everybody needs to hear. The one
Uh-huh.
I was talking about where you need Jesus to be in the
Yeah,
classroom. I'm just
yeah.
get on here, I'm just gonna
Uh-huh.
talk. And that one did numbers.
Yeah, it
I knew it
did.
was
I
gonna
was
get
looking at
yeah.
it before we got on. I mean, you've got one up there that's done 11 million
Yeah.
views, right? I mean, I can go find you right now. We got to all go find you. But yeah, you got one up there that's done like 11 million.
Yes. The other one, I'm
Ah,
not too sure how much that one has. Maybe a little bit under a million. But after I seen the numbers that one did, I saw this other lady on TikTok who is, I think her name is Miss C or something. I want to give her
uh-huh.
credit.
Uh-huh.
Because that's where I got the idea from. And she was just, I think she teaches high school dance, and she was just writing down
Uh-huh.
things that her students were telling her throughout the week. And
Oh,
I said, with my kids, they say some of the craziest, most bizarre
is
things.
that
So
Miss
I'm going
Dugan?
to,
Is that
ma'am,
Miss
sir.
Dugan? Is her name Miss Dugan?
I don't know.
Because
Her
she
name
does
is
that too. And she was on Miss Dugan killing it on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I know there are a lot of educators doing it now, but I think the original
There you
idea
are.
came from
There you are.
Mississippi.
There you are. I sorted it by popular. You got 11.1 million views over here. That one right there. That's
Yes.
great. That's great. Do you like doing this?
I do. I do. I love to hear the other stories that educators have too, as far as what their students have told them. So I've read, like I said, almost all the comments, all the
Yeah.
comments. So and it's just so interesting to see. Like I said in one of my videos, people think that I'm hilarious. It's really the other people on TikTok, the other educators. So I'm
The
glad that
comments are great.
yeah, I'm glad that we've been able to, come together as educators and talk about different
It's
things.
it's cool, right? Like it's
Yeah.
community on
Hmm.
there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you're growing a following. You get to talk to everybody. Do you get to keep doing you want to keep growing that?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Heck yeah. I
I've gotten
mean,
so much positive feedback from that, so this is definitely
true.
something I'm going to continue to do.
Yeah, so we're gonna have everybody follow you there and keep posting the good content. I know what it feels like. I had my dog blew up last summer. It got like all of a sudden one video went like viral, like 11 million views or something
Oh
like that.
wow.
It was like, no, I'm sorry, I take it back. It was like 9.6, but
Hmm.
it was crazy. It was like, whoa, this is nuts. Like all the the for me
Yeah.
who's like ADHD kind of guy, scroll all those notifications kept piling in one day, and I was like, what's going on? He got like 22,000 followers in like a week.
Hmm.
My little dumb dog.
Oh yeah, it happens fast. It can
It's
really
cool.
happen overnight. You just have to, find your audience and post things that they, relate to. So yeah, it can definitely happen for anyone, and it happens
And I
fast too.
it does happen fast, and I like the fact that you just what you just said is you learn from other teachers that are on because you're
Mhm.
building that kind of a community. So
Mhm.
teachers should absolutely get on, I think,
Oh
and
yeah.
share because you learn so much. And to your point, the comments are great, right? Like you go back and read those comments. Heck, lots of videos I go, cliche line straight to the comments, right? Because it's like, oh, I got to go see what people are saying.
Right.
So this is cool. There's even a STEM feed on TikTok.
Oh really?
There is. You can go in and you can actually open up and get a STEM feed, and it's right up there. It's so cool. There's a STEM feed, and you can literally boom. And
Oh,
next thing you know, I'm in STEM. It's crazy, and there's all STEM stuff. So it's
I did not
wild.
even realize
So it's
that.
all like look, it's all teacher stuff. Well, they can't see it.
Oh, see, that's pretty
All
neat. I
STEM.
haven't seen that. Maybe I need to update my app.
Yeah, well, I think you have to go find it. I forget how I found it, but there's like a STEM feed. You can go for you, and then you the shop and all that. You can go put a STEM feed on there. Maybe start like a little elementary feed or something. That'd be great.
We'll see. We'll
Cool,
see what the
man.
future holds.
Well, listen, yeah, man. Well, listen. I think this has been great. Any other kind of thoughts for people out there? So again, this is your time, it's your chance to kind of shine. So, any last words you want to give before we sign off, or any words of encouragement, or just uplifting? Because I know you're an uplifting guy, man. I mean, we love watching
Yeah.
you, and we'll keep watching you.
Oh, yes. The only thing I would like to say is if you're doing it, just know that you are born to do it and you are born to do it. There is nothing that an educator cannot do. Like I said in one of my videos, we play so many different roles besides, being just an educator. Know that those students, they look up to you. And I just want to applaud all the educators because it's not an easy job. So whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, I hope that everyone, that you're really enjoying it. And I hope that you're able to see the impact and the mark that you're able to leave someday.
Awesome, man. Well, Keldric, you're doing a great job, man. Congratulations on your TikTok success and your teaching career. I hope you stick with this because I think you're right. I think the young kids need to see a cool dude like you, and I mean that.
Thank you.
I'm sure they look up to you, and I would love to see what you're going to be like in 20 years when those kids come back to you and thank you for inspiring them to
Yes.
be amazing people and good people because it's going to happen for you. And it's just amazing. You're going to love that. All right,
Thank you.
man. Well, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. This has been
Thank you
great.
for having me. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Anytime, man. Thank you. Stay here. We'll chat.